What if I told you that being the richest person in the world was never truly comfortable? Across thousands of years, wealth has looked different in every era. Ancient administrators controlled cities but slept on wooden slabs. Persian governors lived in luxury yet feared a single whisper at court. Feudal lords commanded armies but shivered through freezing castle nights. And today's billionaires move markets with a phone call while living behind walls of glass and security. 2-minute history shows something strange about extreme wealth. The richer the world became, the more complicated power itself became. From the dusty cities of Mesopotamia to the skyscrapers of modern Dubai, the meaning of fortune has constantly changed, but one thing never did. My name is Tom Invest, and today we're going to travel through time to discover what it really felt like to be the richest person alive. Shut your eyes. Picture a fortune so vast that numbers lose all meaning. A life where you never check a price tag, where you simply take what you want and the world bends itself around your desires. Now open your eyes, and here's the twist. You are not standing in a penthouse above a glittering city. You are standing in the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, 1800 BC, where your home is carved from clay and your sanitation is a ditch carved into the earth. And yet, by every measure that world understands, you are untouchable, a giant among men. But here's what no one tells you about greatness in any era. Comfort means nothing when death breathes at every doorstep. That question, which version of wealth actually wins, drives everything that follows. Because across 4,000 years of human civilization, the story of extreme prosperity has never been simple. It has always been wrapped in pressure. Ancient rulers bowed before gods they feared. Feudal lords slept with daggers within arm's reach, and today's billionaires hide behind walls of reinforced glass and biometric locks. The face of wealth changes with every century. The weight of it never does. So let us walk through time together, not as tourists, but as inhabitants, and feel what fortune truly felt like from the inside. Mesopotamia, 1800 BC. The year is 1800 BC. And you rise before sunrise, not by choice, but because the mud brick walls of your estate trap heat like a furnace the moment daylight arrives. You are an ensi, a city administrator, the closest thing this era has to a billionaire. You control the irrigation canals, the grain stores, and the labor of hundreds of workers who begin their mornings thinking of you. And yet your bed is a wooden slab laced with rough cord, and your headrest is a curved stone block engineered to protect an elaborate headdress you wear as a symbol of office. Every morning begins with a stiff neck and aching shoulders. Every morning begins with the quiet acknowledgement that power, here, has teeth. Your finest meals should feel royal, but even the most carefully prepared bread carries grit in every bite. Millstones shed stone particles into every loaf, and over years, the grinding slowly destroys your teeth. Dining is a quiet, long-running agony that no servant can fix. The king's messenger arrives before you have finished eating. Harvest estimates are due. One wrong figure, one miscalculation, and your legacy crumbles the way the administrator before you crumbled. His name literally chiseled off every monument in the city, erased as cleanly as a mistake on a clay tablet. Even inside your walls, danger breathes quietly. Flies and stagnant water breed fever. Your children sleep under the same roof as that invisible threat, every single night. This is ancient wealth in its truest form. Not comfort, but controlled chaos. Power existed, yes. Influence existed. But so did the very real possibility that everything could vanish before the next sunrise, not through failure, but through a single unlucky season, a single whispered rumor, or a single bad harvest. Persepolis, 480 BC. Step forward 13 centuries and wealth has evolved, and so in perfect proportion has its danger. You are a satrap now, a regional governor answering only to the great king himself, and Persepolis surrounds you with a sophistication that would have seemed impossible to your Mesopotamian predecessor. Cushioned sleeping platforms, elaborate tiled bathrooms, perfumed courtyards where servants anticipate your needs before you voice them. Comfort has arrived, but so has something far darker, the permanent, hovering awareness that visible fortune paints a target directly on your back. In Persia, one whispered accusation at the royal court, one jealous rival with the king's ear, and your estates are seized before sunset. Wealth here demands constant performance. Every banquet you host is silently evaluated by eyes you cannot identify. Too modest an affair and you appear weak, a governor losing his grip. Too lavish and you attract suspicion, a man growing dangerously ambitious. The balance is razor thin, and the razor is always at your throat. Your household staff are loyal on the surface, yet everyone reports to someone above them. Scribes track your correspondence, stewards monitor your spending. Trust is a luxury you genuinely cannot afford, which is its own peculiar kind of poverty, to be surrounded by dozens of people and trusted by none of them. Beyond your gates, the capital buzzes with political electricity that never fully quiets. Alliances shift overnight. A general celebrated today is executed tomorrow, his name spoken only in whispers by next week. Your curtained carriage moves through crowded streets, a symbol of status on the outside, and a calculated barrier between yourself and the population that watches you pass with eyes you cannot read. Persian wealth delivered sophistication, yes. Persian wealth delivered cushions and perfume and architecture that dazzled, but it also delivered paranoia as a permanent houseguest, one that never unpacked, never left, and reminded you daily that fortune and vulnerability have always traveled on the same road. Kyoto, 1200 AD. Kyoto, the year 1200. You are a daimyo, lord of vast rice fields, commander of armored warriors, a man whose name alone carries weight across the province. By every feudal measure, you sit at the absolute peak of society. Yet comfort remains, still, a distant rumor. Your castle is an architectural fortress of thick timber walls, narrow arrow-slit windows, and floors engineered for defense rather than warmth. Winter transforms every corridor into a tunnel of frozen air, and you layer silk robes over padded garments, not as a fashion statement, but as a survival strategy. Even sleep offers no relief. Your bedding sits directly on tatami mats, and the cold rises through them like a slow, patient invasion that repeats itself every night from November through March. Morning brings a breakfast of rice, pickled vegetables, and weak broth. Functional, never indulgent, fuel rather than pleasure. But your mind is already elsewhere before the bowl is empty. A neighboring daimyo has been quietly strengthening his garrison over the past 2 months. Your head samurai reported unusual movement along the northern road the previous evening. These thoughts sit at the breakfast table with you uninvited, and they never leave. Wealth here is measured in loyalty and rice stockpiles rather than gold. And a bad harvest does not merely inconvenience you. It triggers rebellion from the farmers below and opportunistic raids from rivals above, simultaneously, as if the whole world waits for your moment of weakness. You possess one prized object, perhaps a handcrafted scroll, perhaps a ceremonial blade of extraordinary craftsmanship that represents both your culture and your status. You admire it by flickering lamplight, wrapped in layers, your breath visible in the cold night air. Feudal Japanese wealth was authority wrapped in permanent anxiety. Magnificent on the outside, yes, the title, the warriors, the vast estates. Exhausting from within, always. Dubai, 2025. You control a private equity portfolio worth $4 billion. But your greatest asset is no longer gold, land, warriors, or political connections. Your greatest asset is anonymity. Where the rulers of every preceding century draped themselves in visible symbols of dominance, headdresses, perfumed carriages, armor, tailored industrial suits, you have weaponized invisibility instead. Your wardrobe is deliberately unremarkable. Plain shirts, minimalist watches, Understated shoes that cost a month of most people's salaries, but announce nothing. Yet a single phone call from you moves markets across 3 continents before lunch. The power is real. It is simply invisible, which is itself the most sophisticated display of confidence wealth has ever invented. Your schedule is engineered, not lived. Breakfast is a calculated combination of proteins and nootropics. It is assembled by a nutritionist you have never met in person. Your sleep is monitored by sensors embedded in your mattress. The data is analyzed overnight. A dedicated team tracks your cortisol levels daily. They track your heart rate variability. They track your cognitive performance. They search for inefficiencies in your biology, the same way your analysts search for inefficiencies in undervalued companies. Pleasure has been quietly replaced by optimization. Properties in 6 countries technically belong to you, yet none of them feel like home. Each residence is a fortress with biometric entry systems. Armed security details rotate in 12-hour shifts. Reinforced safe rooms whisper imprisonment, even as they scream wealth. The digital age ensures you are never truly unreachable. A collapsing investment appears on your phone instantly. A leaked document reaches you before the public. A single damaging headline arrives on your wrist before your morning coffee cools. The world is faster than it has ever been, and speed, you have discovered, is not always a privilege. Relationships hollow out quietly over time, the way buildings hollow out before they collapse, slowly, invisibly, all at once. Colleagues want access to you. Old friends want distance from what you have become. Genuine conversation becomes rare, the kind where someone tells you something true you did not already know. It becomes a precious commodity, more valuable than anything in your portfolio. Modern wealth has solved every physical problem that tormented history's richest figures: disease, cold, hunger, the threat of violence at close quarters. It conquered all of that, and in doing so, it manufactured an entirely new prison, one built not from stone or clay, but from glass walls, constant surveillance, and the loneliness so complete, so structurally embedded into the architecture of extreme success that it has no real historical comparison. Across every chapter of human history, fortune has never told the full story. From the sweltering clay estates of ancient Mesopotamia to the paranoid courts of Persia, from the frozen fortresses of feudal Japan to the glass-walled digital prisons of today, every era of extreme wealth arrives carrying baggage invisible to those watching from the outside. The faces change. The cities change. The technology changes beyond recognition. The pattern never breaks. Prosperity has always amplified everything, not just power and comfort, but exposure, pressure, and isolation in exact proportion. What appears to be freedom, examined closely from the inside, reveals itself as a more sophisticated form of captivity. The NC worried about the king's messenger arriving with bad news before the harvest was counted. The satrap slept with one eye open, listening for footsteps in corridors he controlled but did not trust. The daimyo counted his rice stores and his enemies simultaneously over a cold breakfast, calculating threats before the sun had fully risen. And the modern billionaire optimizes everything: sleep, nutrition, cognition, portfolio allocation, except his loneliness, which refuses to be optimized at all. Every throne has its thorns. Every fortune carries its hidden invoice, and the invoice is always due. So the next time wealth looks effortless from a distance, from the outside of a curtained carriage, from the street below a penthouse, from the comment section beneath a Forbes profile, remember what 4,000 years of human ambition actually reveals. Remember that the heaviest thing any rich person ever carried across all of recorded history was rarely gold. It was everything gold could not fix.